In the fall of 1954, a woman named Shirley Mason walked into a psychiatrist's office in New York City. She looked anxious, fragile, and uncertain. But what she was about to say would leave a permanent mark on the history of psychology. Shirley claimed she often lost time, hours, sometimes even days. She said she would find herself in strange places with no memory of how she got there. At times, she would hear voices inside her own head, and sometimes she would speak in a voice that wasn't her own. She wasn't sure who she really was. Soon, Shirley revealed something even more disturbing. She believed that she wasn't just one person. She was 24. Each identity had its own name, age, memories, handwriting, even voice and accent. Some were children, some were men, some were violent, others were gentle. All of them lived inside Shirley. This became one of the most famous and controversial cases in the history of mental health. It inspired books, movies, and debates that continue to this day. But behind the headlines, there is a deeper story, one of pain, trauma, therapy, and possibly manipulation. Was Shirley really suffering from what we now call dissociative identity disorder, or was something else going on? This is the story of Sybil, and what may have truly happened inside her mind. Shirley Mason was born in 1923 in a small town in Minnesota. From the outside, her childhood looked ordinary, but what she described later was far from normal. According to Shirley, her mother was abusive. She claimed that her mother would punish her in strange and terrifying ways, locking her in dark places, force-feeding her, and even touching her inappropriately. These memories would come in flashes, sometimes as nightmares, sometimes as voices, and sometimes they would come as another person. By the time Shirley was a teenager, she had started to dissociate. Her mind would escape reality, creating alternate versions of herself to cope with the pain. One day, she would be a scared little girl. The next, she'd be a loud, confident woman. Sometimes, she'd even act like a man. And none of these versions remembered what the others had done. But Shirley didn't talk about this to anyone. Not yet. She became quiet, shy, and deeply anxious. Still, she managed to go to college and even started working as a teacher and commercial artist. But inside, things were falling apart. She began seeing a psychiatrist named Dr. Cornelia Wilbur. It was during these sessions that Shirley began to open up, slowly, painfully, and reveal the existence of what she called the others. Dr. Wilbur was fascinated. She believed Shirley was suffering from multiple personality disorder, a condition that was barely understood at the time. And so began a long and complicated journey, one that would last over a decade, one that would change both of their lives forever. During her therapy, Shirley began to describe the different people living inside her. She didn't call them personalities. She called them selves. Each one had a name, an age, a voice, and a role. There was Peggy Lou, a fearful, angry little girl who hated men. Vicky, who spoke French and was elegant, confident, and charming. Vanessa, playful and dramatic, like performer on stage. Mike, an athletic, aggressive boy who liked to climb trees. Sid, a carpenter who hated women. Mary, calm, maternal, always tried to help. Some of them knew about each other. Some didn't. Some were aware of Shirley. Others believed they were the real person. Dr. Wilbur carefully documented each of them. She gave them individual time in therapy, often speaking to them directly as if they were separate people. Shirley's voice, posture, and handwriting would change completely depending on who was out. Her IQ, drawing style, and even vision seemed to shift between personalities. Over time, Dr. Wilbur identified 24 different identities. Together, they created a chart, a mental map of the personalities, their relationships, their fears, and their origins. Dr. Wilbur believed that these personalities had formed as a defense mechanism, a way for Shirley's mind to survive the abuse and trauma she had experienced as a child. The therapy sessions were intense, emotional, and sometimes terrifying. But Dr. Wilbur was determined to help Shirley become whole again. And Shirley, she trusted her completely, at least in the beginning. As the therapy continued, Dr. Wilbur began sharing Shirley's story with a writer named Flora Rita Schreiber. Together, they planned to publish a book about the case, anonymously. To protect Shirley's identity, they changed her name in the manuscript. She became Sybil. In 1973, the book Sybil was released. It became a massive bestseller. Readers were shocked and fascinated by the idea of one person living with 24 different identities. 2 years later, a television movie was made, starring Sally Field. It brought the story into millions of homes. Sybil became a cultural phenomenon. People began to question their own experiences. Therapists started diagnosing multiple personality disorder more often. The condition, once rare, suddenly seemed everywhere. But not everyone believed the story. Some psychiatrists accused Dr. Wilbur of suggesting the personalities during hypnosis. They said she had encouraged Shirley, pushed her to invent or exaggerate the identities. Others pointed to the lack of hard evidence. No medical tests, no witnesses, just therapy notes and a very compelling story. Even Flora Schreiber, the writer of the book, later expressed doubts about what was real and what wasn't. And then, years later, Shirley herself may have admitted something unexpected. Years after the book and movie made her famous, Shirley Mason moved to a quiet town and lived under a different name. She continued painting and teaching, mostly avoiding the spotlight. But in the 1990s, something unexpected surfaced. A psychiatrist named Dr. Herbert Spiegel claimed that he had once treated Shirley briefly while Dr. Wilbur was away. He said Shirley didn't have multiple personalities. He believed she was highly hypnotizable and eager to please. According to Spiegel, Shirley had told him, "I'm not really Sybil. It's all just make-believe. But Dr. Wilbur needs me to be sick." This statement, if true, changed everything. Was Shirley manipulated into believing she had 24 personalities? Did Dr. Wilbur push a narrative to fit her own theory? Or was Shirley's mind truly fractured from childhood trauma, and these personalities were her way of surviving? We may never know for sure. Some believe the Sybil case helped raise awareness about mental illness and trauma. Others see it as a dangerous example of suggestion, false memories, and media influence. What we do know is this: the human mind is more complex than we can imagine, and sometimes the line between truth and fiction is thinner than we think. This was the story of Sybil, a woman who said she was 24 people, and the world believed her. If you found this story thought-provoking, don't forget to subscribe to MindVault. New episodes uncover the deepest corners of the human mind. Thank you for watching.